I'd like to introduce Theo from the Wisconsin School of Business, and he's the co-lead of the Instructional Technology Group there. Theo, take it away.
Hi, good afternoon. Thank you for joining this session. My name is Theo Howard. I am from the School of Business. I'm in teaching and learning support, and this presentation is going to be sort of how I learned more about empowering enthusiastic group members and small teams through IT Connects and bringing it to the Instructional Technology Group. So let me start with, I joined IT Connects a long time ago as part of the Information and Technology Leadership Conference, which we are all in attendance of right now, virtually or in person. It was before the pandemic. I didn't know what I was getting into.
Hello, hi. I apologize for interrupting, but I need my camera to be turned on. This is the interpreter. Somebody disabled my camera. I'm labeled as ASL interpreter.
Okay, I see you. I'll see if I can fix it or if somebody else can as well.
Looks like it's fixed. Thank you.
Okay, so all right, I have to get back into my zone. I'm sorry. So I started with IT Connects. I didn't know what IT Connects was, but I joined the Information and Technology Leadership Conference and the IT Professional Conference. I became a co-lead for the Information and Technology Leadership Conference for 2 years. And that led me to find out about IT Connects and join in other programs such as the IT Leadership Program. And here's a picture of me with the co-sponsors, which are Todd Schechter, the CTO, and the CIO, Lois Brooks, and Leah, who is my co-lead for 1 year. So what is IT Connects? IT Connects is sort of a larger organization which has these smaller groups such as IT Professional Steering Committee, IT Mentoring, and the others that are listed. I have had the benefit of participating in the ones that are in bold, which are the IT Leadership Program and Digital Accessibility Community Practice. And there are many others which I think everyone should consider joining. It's been when there's not a lot of, sometimes it feels like there's hard to find an opportunity to lead or grow your leadership skills. And I think this is one of the best opportunities on campus. So I can't endorse it enough. So one thing I learned was there's a lot of enthusiastic people on campus with a lot of different expertise. And I made this illustration here to show just the different, just people are so different in their interests and proclivities and skills. And, I guess if I go back, each of these is supposed to be around the outside the individual groups. And then the center is the co-leads for each group, and they sort of collaborate with the sponsors and coordinate with each other. And again, the things that were really great learning experiences was the level of communication and collaboration and reporting and the support and delegation that the sponsors did. So if you had an idea, the sponsors were happy to let you run with it as long as you were really communicative, I think. So one of the opportunities that we had was to start, one of the great meetings we had was sort of a brainstorming session with our sponsors. And they just said, what do you want to do? And we all sort of had our ideas, and it was really energizing. But then a week or two later, they said, hey, why don't you guys all start doing those ideas? And I was kind of shocked by that, because a lot of times you get to say what you want to do, and then you don't get to do it. And they really enabled us to do that. And one of the things that I got to work on was the speaker development series that went for a couple of years with Amanda Thornton, who was a co-lead from the IT Professionals Conference, whereas I was a co-lead for the Information and Technology Leadership Conference. And we wanted to help develop a speaker community, help speakers feel more confident and to differentiate our conferences a little bit so that people would recognize each of them and know that there's 2 of them every year. So that brings me to my other role, which was the Instructional Technology Group. That is 186 members from 13 schools and colleges across UW. And the focus is on solving instructional technology problems, whether that be from the centralized sort of academic technology from Do It, Center for Teaching and Learning and Mentoring, and as well as problems that came up from the colleges and the distributed units. So there's a lot of communication, which makes this an hour-and-a-half meeting once every other week. And that's a really long meeting to conduct, and that was one of the problems I wanted to solve. So conducting an hour-and-a-half meeting is, well, very challenging and takes a lot of energy. Another challenge was finding other co-leads to serve in the future. 186 people is a lot, but there's actually not a lot of people who have the capacity, because of their work demands, or they're not eligible because of the units, whether if they're from our sponsors. We wanted people from the colleges and other departments to be leaders. And then another thing that I wanted to do was have other people take on a larger role in the hour-and-a-half meeting to be the experts that share their knowledge and enthusiasm to our larger group and be sort of empowered to solve problems together. So I made an illustration of our group on the left. And so you can see it's, again, many different people from all over campus with different interests and skills. And as things came up in our meetings, we let people sort of self-nominate or start little groups together to solve problems. And that was like the instructional designer training materials. There was a need for that across campus because, training takes time and energy, and we wanted to make that faster and easier. There's a digital accessibility liaisons. Many of them are in ITG, the Instructional Technology Group. And then artificial intelligence emerged as an important topic in academic technology as well. So a group emerged for that. So the reasons that group members joined or led these groups is there was an extraordinary need on campus. It supported the ITG, the roles of our members outside of ITG, or the members had strong beliefs or opinions, and it was emerging as an important topic on campus. So the results of the Instructional Designer Training Materials Group, I'm going to go through each group and show just kind of how productive they were and that there were some good results from it. So several of our members got together and developed instructional designer training, and we tested the materials in the school business and developed a poster that we presented at the Teaching and Learning Symposium in 2024. We developed a Canvas course, and the Canvas course is available for anybody to copy on campus and tune to their specific areas. So a lot of it was software that people need to know, or the structures of campus and resources that are available. The Digital Accessibility Liaisons Group. So digital accessibility is emerging, is a requirement that we get up to date on in the next few years. And so we need to make all of the materials accessible to screen readers and different ways of sensing and perceiving that people have. So the learning management system, we felt like was not getting the attention that we needed from, we were having a lot of challenges in communicating with instructors and our leadership. And So we decided that we needed to come together and develop a voice for ourselves to advocate for accessibility from the instructional technology perspective. We were able to present, well, we created a comic based on our experience for these designers of instructional materials, and where the communication was having challenges, and we were able to present this to the Digital Accessibility Planning Committee. And one of the things that they found was that there needed to be a change in paradigms, a paradigm shift, they said, for how the attitude towards how we change fix materials. So not that people didn't want to, but that we need to fix how we were approaching it. So that was great. And we've been able to come up with more support and collaboration for liaisons. And then finally, the AI interest group in ITG is how people are using artificial intelligence in classes, whether they be instructors or students, is a huge emerging topic. And 65 of our 186 members have joined this group. So there's a lot of interest and involvement. And we need to kind of stay ahead of the curve and inform each other and develop as fast as we can to provide the best practices for our instructors and help them to use AI in ethical and positive ways for learning. And yeah. So the results of empowering these groups, better community connections among members, accelerated resource development, such as the instructional design or training materials, improved leadership pathways. Leaders in these small groups have emerged as future leaders for ITG overall, and that was one of the intentions. Improved visibility of our group, as we've been able to advocate for better accessibility as instructional technologists. Topic reporting by subgroup leaders, and then specialization within groups. So yeah. So what is IT Connects? IT Connects is the organization that the Information and Technology Leadership Conference is under. And the Instructional Technology Group is just a sort of grassroots organization sponsored by the Center for Teaching, Learning, and Mentoring and Do It Academic Technology. And if you are involved in either of these, like if you are interested in leadership, IT Connects is great. And if you're in instructional technology, or if it affects what you do, definitely join the Instructional Technology Group. Yeah, so is there any questions?
First off, thank you, Theo, for the great talk. Here in the room, does anybody have any questions for Theo?
I see one in the text while we're waiting from Robert, that were ITG groups organized around classes of problems as they could solve independently from each other. So what happened with the subgroups was that as challenges kind of emerged, well, let me say, having good communication with my co-chairs is really important, and that I said this is something that would be really good to be able to do, is to create subgroups. So first of all, communicating and keeping other leaders and our sponsors aware of the development of smaller groups was just an important part about keeping everybody informed. The subgroups, it resulted in us changing our charter so that these subgroups could be created with, more intention. But it basically came down to if there was a need for like a subgroup or a task force, something that whether it was something to be ongoing or temporary. So the instructional designer training materials was intentionally a short-term task force. There was a target and an end for it, whereas the AI interest group is open-ended. And so it basically comes down to if there's a lot of interest and it keeps coming up and it's not being addressed by, um, somebody already, such as academic technology, has many people talking about different topics, or CTLM. We wanted to have a space where people could meet outside of ITG and then report back to ITG during the 2-hour meeting, or an hour and a half meeting. Does that answer the question, Robert?
Yeah, it does. It sounds like they kind of were that they were sort of need and value driven, as opposed to the other ways that we sometimes make groups by like specialty.
Right, and it definitely had to be something where it reached a threshold of interest that it could maintain its own inertia. I mean,
Yeah, thanks.
yeah, it had to kind of create a critical mass and then interest, and then once it gets going, somebody needs to take ownership of that group within ITG. And that can be kind of a challenge to say, as a leader of ITG who wants to be a leader of this other small group that I'm a part of, and just people don't necessarily have capacity a lot of times to take on a leadership role. But the value of the smaller group is very important to ITG and the small group as a whole. Or the small group and ITG as a whole.
Sounds like a great organizational story. Thanks.
Yeah, I'm trying to get the story right. And it's complicated because I'm trying to take lessons that I learned from IT Connects and the organization that, anybody who's here, I highly recommend getting involved in IT Connects. And the way that I would recommend that is through, my experience is through these conferences. They're always looking for help. And it's a great way to practice leadership and organization when, sometimes it feels like maybe there's not a lot of opportunities to practice that. And I think it's been the best opportunity to experiment and get my hands dirty with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there any other questions?
Oh, I've got one question for you, Theo. This is Nils.
Yes.
I just wanted to ask, are there any emerging trends you see in instructional technology? Is there anything that comes up repeatedly that maybe doesn't yet have its own working group, but might in the future?
Oh boy. That's tough. I feel like the AI stuff has been really hot and we've been really focused on that. We have this group and it is focused on it, and I think that they're bringing in speakers. The enthusiasm is great for it. Accessibility, a lot of that is teaching, guiding instructors towards better practices that are not hard to do. And then just, I think they aren't aware of necessarily the spaces, like, hearing and vision impairment, I think, are sometimes not as visible as, until people find out about them, and then they're very concerned about it, ideally. So, just raising awareness of that, and then getting up to date on everything is really, really important to all of us in ITG. So we're just trying to get up on that as quickly as we can and inform as many of our instructors, and I guess align it with the inclusiveness of it, because that's been an important push around the university, is inclusiveness. So people understand that more than accessibility, but it's just trying to make that connection.
Great, thank you for that answer.
Sure.
Does anybody else in the room have a question, or are there any other questions online?
Sure. Hi Theo, Sarah Hagan, College of Engineering. I've been in ITG now for 8 years, and when you said there was 90 minutes, it kind of like shocked me, because I think of that meeting as like a fun one, so it's it doesn't feel like 90 minutes, so thank you.
Yeah, well, and I will say one of my favorite recent innovations that we have is at the end of the meeting, we have 2 to 5 minutes of show your pet time, and that keeps people engaged right up until the end. And it's just so enjoyable to see everybody's animals. Like I can't tell you just how much joy it brings us, just to see people's, pets that are just laying on the ground, or they go grab them, or they show a funny picture of them, and it's very restorative. So I recommend, if you have time at the end of a meeting, or your meeting's getting done early, just hey everybody, if you got a moment, just show your colleagues your pets, and give them a little dopamine, and
That is definitely.
that's
It is.
that's one of the greatest innovations. Let me get back to that. That's why I made this photo right here. That's why I forgot to say that. But animals really do make us all much happier. And I don't have any pets, so I have to live vicariously through my workers.
But I think it's a meeting that has made the post-COVID transition to remote very well, like meetings that are fully online for 90 minutes. It's a really well-run meeting. I wonder
Right.
if you could say a little more about the connections of ITG to leadership on campus, and how ITG informs leadership and how they hear from leadership.
Yeah, that's great. Our co-sponsors are Tamara Walker from Do It AT, and well, it was and then it was John Z from the Center for Teaching, Learning, and Mentoring. And so we had a monthly meeting with them, I think, or it was a 45-minute meeting as co-chairs. And that was sort of our opportunity to, get their vision, I guess, or see what their what's emerging as an issue that they see. And they really did want to hear what was happening in ITG. So if we had, what was emerging as issues, recently we had some changes going to testing center issues, and it was just good to communicate with these and be able to, keep them informed and just keep ITG aligned with the campus vision and direction. So that's our that's how we communicate with leadership. And then I think leadership, I think on the other end of the spectrum, we have our members are instructional designers, technologists, support staff, academics staff of all kinds. And at ITG, the engagement, sometimes is people just listening in, and being flies on the wall, I guess. I hear that expression sometimes. And then there's all kinds of, everything from that up to like, these pretty, I think people are just very passionate about it, and we make a big difference in, solving problems. And, when things aren't happening as expected, it's good for us to be able to stay ahead of it before our instructors have any issues with it, and just really be informed. I think it helps us stay way, way ahead of instructor issues in learning management spaces. So I think people really want to help each other out. Yeah.
Great. Does anybody else have any other questions? All right. Well, thank you, Theo, for the great talk. We all appreciate it.
Oh, thank you all so much. I appreciate it. Have a nice afternoon.